When a Hollywood icon steps onto a late-night stage, you expect admiration. But what if the host chooses mockery over respect? This is the night Sylvester Stallone walked into more than an interview. He walked into a verbal war. It all began like any other late-night segment. The lights were dim, the crowd buzzing, and the jazz band fading out as Jimmy Kimmel walked in with his signature smirk. "Tonight," he said, "we've got a very special guest. The man who turned mumbling into an art form. Rocky himself, Sylvester Stallone." Thunderous applause followed as Stallone walked out. Even after all these years, his presence commanded attention. Wearing a sharp black blazer over a deep maroon shirt, he waved to the crowd and took his seat beside Jimmy with a warm, polite smile. "Good to be here," Stallone said, voice rough as ever. "Great to have you, Sly," Jimmy responded, leaning in. "I was told we're getting wisdom, experience, a few mumbled lines, and maybe a protein shake." The audience chuckled. Stallone let out a small laugh, but his eyes narrowed slightly. "Left the shake backstage," he replied. "Didn't want to upstage your green juice," Jimmy grinned. "Touche, so new movie, huh? Another action flick, or did you finally make something with, I don't know, plot?" Stallone didn't flinch. "It's about redemption. A veteran facing his demons. Something grounded. Something real." "Whoa, deep," Jimmy mocked. "And here I thought it was just another excuse to flex those arms." The crowd laughed again. Stallone didn't. "Sometimes pain needs muscle," he said coolly. "Not to show off, but to carry the weight." The mood shifted slightly. Jimmy smirked. "That's poetic. Was that Rambo or Rocky talking?" Stallone leaned back. "Funny. I thought comedy was supposed to punch up, not down." Jimmy raised his brows, caught off guard. "Just messing with you," he said quickly. "Don't body slam me on air." "Don't worry," Stallone replied. "I only hit when it's scripted." The tension was undeniable. What started as playful teasing had shifted. Jimmy tried to lighten the mood again. "So let's go back. First Rocky. You wrote that in 3 days, right? Did you just run out of crayons?" A ripple of discomfort passed through the audience. Stallone paused. "I wrote it with everything I had. Sleeping in a bus terminal, trying to sell my dog so I could eat. Crayons weren't the issue." The room fell silent. "You know, Jimmy," Stallone added, "sometimes jokes crack people up. Other times they just crack dignity. Be careful which you're breaking tonight." The gloves were officially off. Everyone expected jokes. No one expected a battle for respect, live. Jimmy tried to shrug it off. "You should do stand-up." That comeback was almost clear. Stallone didn't budge. "And you should try sincerity. Might blow your audience's mind." The audience let out an audible ooh. Jimmy, sensing he was slipping, pressed on. "Let's be real. You've made more sequels than Hollywood has new ideas. Ever think of letting it go?" Stallone crossed his legs slowly. "I tell stories people still want to hear. Maybe that's what bugs you." Jimmy chuckled sarcastically. "Or maybe it's that you keep playing the same guy with a new haircut." Stallone's stare sharpened. "Better than being a new haircut with the same old jokes." The audience roared. Jimmy smiled tightly. Okay. But honestly, doesn't it bother you that some people just see you as a punchline? Only when hosts like you try to write the jokes," Stallone shot back. "Let me remind you, Rocky wasn't just a movie. It was hope. For people who had none." The audience applauded loudly. The energy had shifted. Jimmy tried to pivot again. "But you're a millionaire now. Isn't it a little rich to talk about struggle?" Stallone's voice dropped a note. "Struggle doesn't vanish with money. It leaves marks. And it teaches you when someone's using you for laughs." Jimmy blinked. "You think I'm using you?" Stallone didn't break eye contact. "You tell me." The room froze. For the first time, Jimmy looked uneasy. He forced a laugh. "Well, looks like we accidentally booked a philosophy major tonight." Stallone smirked. "Funny, I thought we booked a host." Another explosion of applause. Jimmy clenched his jaw. He was losing control. Trying one last route, he asked, "How do you answer critics who say your career now is just nostalgia? That without the past, there's no present?" Stallone leaned in. "Critics talk. Legends build. I don't live in the past." "I built it." The crowd erupted in applause. Jimmy leaned forward, trying to recover. "Come on, Sly, can't you take a joke?" Stallone's smile vanished. "Can you take the truth?" Silence, heavy and final. Jimmy turned to camera with a tight grin. "We'll be right back." If Stallone doesn't punch me first, but everyone watching knew it wasn't just a break. It was a fault line, and Stallone, he wasn't breaking. When the lights returned after the commercial, Jimmy faked a relaxed posture. We're back with the one and only Sylvester Stallone. Voice therapy's greatest miracle. The man, the myth, what is it now? 80-something-year-old action figure? Stallone let the audience laugh, then delivered. Better to be carved in stone than molded from plastic, Jimmy. The applause this time? Fierce. There was a shift and Jimmy felt it. Your fans, Jimmy said, trying to recover. They're intense, like they think you're still that Philly underdog. I am, Stallone said simply. Just wearing better shoes, Jimmy scoffed. Isn't it time to hang up the gloves? You ever tell a soldier to take off his boots because you're tired of the war? The room went still. I don't think Rocky IX qualifies as war. It does, Stallone said. When you're fighting apathy, cynicism, and the idea that people like me can't still matter. More applause. Jimmy tried again. So it's not ego, it's mission? No, Stallone said. It's duty. To remind people that you stop when you say you're done, not when others do. Jimmy nodded, then quipped, spoken like a man trying to sell tickets. Stallone stared. You keep making this a joke. Maybe you're scared people might actually believe me. The crowd roared again. Jimmy looked visibly shaken. You want to know what scares me? Jimmy said. That people think Rocky is you. That he's real. Stallone leaned forward. Rocky is real. Not because I wrote him, because millions saw themselves in him. He's a mirror, something you clearly avoid. The silence was no longer awkward. It was electric. And when Stallone stood up, the tension snapped like a wire. Jimmy leaned back. So what's next? Anti-aging supplements? A reality show? Stallone exhaled. You wear jokes like armor, Jimmy, but at some point the noise drowns out the substance. Jimmy shrugged. It's just TV, man. Maybe that's the problem, Stallone said. You treat real people like punchlines, even the ones who came here with something to say. The audience was still. Come on, Sly, Jimmy said. You've taken real punches. You can handle this. Stallone stood. Slow, calm, powerful. I've taken enough, he said, and I've given enough. To this business. This audience. And the soul of real storytelling. Jimmy stood too. Where are you going? Stallone turned to the audience. I'm done. The applause that erupted wasn't shock. It was solidarity. Jimmy tried to recover. Next week, someone with a sense of humor. Stallone paused at the edge of the stage. Next week, try someone with a soul. Then, just before disappearing behind the curtain, he looked back. I've spent a lifetime creating characters who fight for something, he said. Maybe it's time late-night TV did too. The camera tried to follow, but cut awkwardly back to Jimmy, blinking in silence. Backstage, stunned crew members applauded. An intern whispered, "Thank you." Twitter exploded. Hashtags like Respect Stallone and Late Night Gone Wrong trended globally. Memes spread like wildfire. A screenshot of Stallone standing tall. Strength isn't loud. It's dignified. News outlets replayed the clip. Commentators analyzed it. Fans and celebrities voiced their respect. Stallone hadn't just left a studio. He had walked into history. What started as another appearance became a raw, unfiltered stand for dignity. It wasn't rage, it was resolve, and the world watched it live. Who crossed the line? Who told the truth? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more moments where truth hits harder than the punchline, subscribe. This wasn't just a late-night moment. It was a wake-up call.